Another month has passed, which means it's time for another monthly wrap-up video. We read a bunch of good books this month, so today we're just gonna go over all of them and let you know our thoughts.
I read 10 books. I'm in the middle of one, but we are filming a little bit early, so I should finish that book by the end of the month. So that's 11 books under my belt.
That is crazy. We are killing it this month, and I think we read a lot of good quality books as well, so I can't wait to get started. Something different we did this month as well was picking our prompts from a TBR jar. That definitely got us reading books I don't think we would have picked up otherwise, but I'm so happy we did that because we read a lot of really great books.
I actually really did like doing the prompts, and after I was done reading all of my prompts, I did not know what to pick up. I didn't know what to read, so I think they really helped, and we will be doing it again next month. So the first one I read, the prompt was a woman author, so I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is actually her debut novel, so it's crazy that I had read all of her books but this one. I know Abby Jimenez books always have some deeper subplot. This one was just really sad, and I wasn't expecting that. And this one, our main girlie Kristen, she's helping her best friend plan her wedding, and Kristen starts to kind of like one of the groomsmen, but she knows that she can't have a family and she doesn't want to stop that from him not being able to have a family. So it's really sad. This book really did put me through a roller coaster of emotions. Our two people were very cute together. I loved their banter, but there definitely was a few moments where I wanted to like yell at them to communicate a little bit, but it definitely was a really good story, and I would recommend. I did give it 4 stars. If you haven't read this one, I would read trigger warnings if you need to, because there was a few serious things happening.
One of my prompts for this month was read a new book purchase, so for that one I chose Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. I had heard great things about this book, and I think this is one of the rare times that I agree with the hype. I absolutely loved it. In the story, we're following 18-year-old Mallory. She has basically sworn off chess because her and her father used to play it. Mallory's defeat of the new world chess champion is what brings her back into the world of chess, where she is forced to face the pain of her past and learn to trust others. I loved this story. The plot was so interesting. Our characters had depth. We see Mallory having to overcome a bunch of challenges. The romance was so realistic and cute. We also get some insight on professional chess and that world. They do touch on gender stereotypes in a male-dominated sport, and I just found this book really interesting. The romance also made me realize that I love the acts of service love language. I don't know that I've read a book that has it quite like this one did, so I'm gonna want to read more of those. I thought this book was so wholesome. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to read more by Allie Hazelwood.
One of my prompts was to read a book that the other person has read. So I picked Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I knew you really liked this one, and it's kind of rare for us to really like a mystery thriller, and you were so right about this because this was quite the freaking journey. I really loved the idea of going back in time and trying to stop a crime before it happens, and I was able to read this book in a single day just because I was so locked in and had to know what was going to happen. I love that the twists and turns were spread out throughout the story and it wasn't just all kind of chaotic towards the end, and I was happy that I wasn't able to guess anything that was going to happen. The ending was actually perfect, and I really liked the epilogue as well, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. I ended up giving this one 4 stars.
Another one of my prompts for this month was picking a book that was on my shelf for a long time, so I went with Bad Girls with Perfect Faces by Lynn Wingarden. I specifically chose this one because I've read another book by this author and really loved it, so I was expecting the same thing for this one. I think I liked this one a little less, but it was still good. This was a YA mystery, and we're following a girl named Sasha. Her best friend Xavier has recently broken up with his cheating ex Ivy. However, they're now trying to get back together, and Sasha is determined to prove that Ivy is not to be trusted. So in order to do that, she creates a fake online profile in order to talk to Ivy, but not everything goes according to plan. I did really like this one. I was not expecting the ending. It was fast-paced and juicy and twisty. I did give this one a 3.75. I liked it, but like I said, I liked Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls more.
My next prompt was a black book, so I ended up picking What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Another one that was quite the experience. I know this one is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher, and this was actually my first read from this author, and I really enjoyed it. This is a gothic horror story and definitely outside of what I normally read, but I'm so glad that I gave it a chance. I was entertained the entire way through, and there was definitely a few parts that I was really spooked at. I think because this book is a little bit shorter, the ending did feel a little bit rushed to me, but I still did really enjoy it. I gave it a 3.75 stars, and I will be reading more from this author.
The next book prompt I had was reading a hardcover, which was super easy for me because I have a bunch of hardcovers at home, but I chose Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. Loved this book. Loved this book, and it was the first book I've read by this author. In this story, we're following 3 girls who grew up together in the same foster home, and years later, when a body is found under the home that they grew up in, they are brought back to their hometown. This book was so enthralling. We get 2 timelines, one in the past when they're growing up together, and one in the present where there is the ongoing investigation. Everything from the storytelling to the character development is so well done. Another book where I love the ending and I couldn't see it coming. I need more mystery thrillers like this. I hate being able to predict what's gonna happen, and that wasn't the case with this one. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't wait to read more by Sally Hepworth.
Another prompt I had was a fantasy book, so I ended up picking The Wishing Game by Meg Schaffer. This was such a sweet and whimsical story. It did remind me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The House of the Cerulean Sea mixed together. In the story, there's this author who writes these children's books, and he hasn't written a book in a really long time, and then he decides to write a book, and only one person is gonna get this book, and with it is gonna come a really big prize. So it's just screaming Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I did have really high expectations for this story, but honestly it just felt like there was something missing for me. The children's book concept might have been just a little bit too YA for me, because there was some times where they were like telling us the children's book story and I was just kind of getting brought out of the story when I was reading that. But I do think it was still a sweet story and I still would recommend it. I gave it a 3.75.
The next prompt I had was a book with red on the cover, and I went with The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, specifically because I wanted to read this book already. I had heard great things. I knew it was a dark romance. I was not ready for what happened in this book. This was essentially a dark romance, reverse harem, Peter Pan reimagining, and it went exactly how you'd assume. It was very smutty, very dramatic. Was it the best book I've ever read? Absolutely not. After finishing this book, did I then continue the series and buy the next 3 to read? Absolutely. I don't know what it was, but the story was so entertaining. Once I got invested, I couldn't stop reading. I read basically all of these in one sitting. I have a little bit left of the last one to finish, but I'm gonna read it tonight. I love dark romances because I can read them so fast. I just get hooked and I don't want to put the books down. I think as a whole, I would give this series like a 3-star because I think they're solid, but I will forget everything that happened in these books in 2 weeks' time. I'm happy I own all of them now. I can't wait to finish the last one tonight. I'll put my overall thoughts on Goodreads once I finish that one, but this was a good series. I hate to say it, but it was good.
My last prompt was a book of the month book, and I had a whole bunch to choose from, but I ended up picking The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I did read No Exit by this author a while ago, and I didn't really love it, so I was interested in reading this one to see if I was going to like this one or if I also wasn't gonna like this one. I liked this one more than No Exit, but I didn't love it. This one was another survival story where this girl ends up writing a bad review for this book that she read, and then she finds herself being stalked and this person is trying to break into the house. It's just a whole thing. I don't know, I just wasn't entertained. I felt like what was going to happen was really obvious and I wanted to DNF really bad, and I honestly probably should have DNF'd, but I just thought maybe things are gonna pick up, and it really didn't. It felt slow the whole time and the twist didn't shock me, so I ended up giving it a 3-star. So I'm not too sure if I'm gonna read something else by this author, but that's okay.
My last prompt was to read a sci-fi, and I had picked out Dark Matter. I didn't read it. Amanda did. I will have to read it next month. But continuing on, I actually think this book was my hardcover choice, and Darling Girls was just an extra one. But either way, I read Very Bad People by Kit Frick this month, and I think this was my only real flop of the month. I loved I Killed Zoe Spanos by this author. I assumed I was gonna love this one. I did not. In this one, we're following a girl whose mother met an untimely death, and this girl's basically just trying to escape, get away, so she goes to this boarding school that her mom used to attend. She gets brought into this secret society on campus and assumes maybe she'll get some answers about what happened to her mother. I thought it was gonna be really interesting. I liked the first half. However, this one just missed the mark for me. It was very slow with the pacing. I didn't love the ending. Everything just felt a little underwhelming, and overall, I didn't really have a good time reading it. I gave it a 2-star. I feel really bad, but I loved I Killed Zoe Spanos, so maybe I'll read something else by this author and like it more than this one. I do think this one was my hardcover pick, though. I messed up because I didn't write it down.
So I did end up reading Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, but only because the show did just come out and I am ready to watch that show. This story was just a crazy, unique concept. It was the perfect mix of science fiction and mystery thriller. I kind of had this like eerie, spooky feeling the whole time that I was reading it. In this one, this man gets kidnapped and he finds himself being in a whole different universe, and he's just trying to get back to his wife and his kid. And it's crazy to think about, because who knows, there could be a multi-universe and every decision we make is being played out somewhere else, and it's really scary to think about. But I did really enjoy this one. It played like a movie in my head, so I'm ready to watch that show. I did end up giving this a 4-star.
See, you read it for me.
Yeah. It basically counts as your
I basically read it.
Yes.
Up next, we have our May book club book, and we read The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. One of my favorite book club books to date, I think.
It was really good. I'm sad that we didn't get to put it in our little ranking video.
I know.
Because we would have had an extra one up at the top.
In the story, we're following Belle Price. Her and her family are being interviewed for this documentary about her mother's disappearance. When Belle was 2, her mother disappeared and she never returned. 16 years later, though, Rachel Price reappears and everything gets turned upside down. We ended up reading this in a reading vlog for this month. It was insane from start to finish, such a good mystery. I actually love the ending. I know a big thing in the book club, people thought the ending was a little too over the top. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5, but I thought this was a real fun one to chat with everyone about.
I didn't see any of the twists coming, but I thought they were really good. I ended up giving it a 4 stars. So in that reading vlog, I read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. We were reading new releases, so I had to read this one. This is another fun rom-com from Christina Lauren. Our 2 main characters are fake dating and they're at this wedding that's on a private island. It's honestly the perfect summer read because you just feel like you're there with these people, but there's also a good chunk of family drama that just keeps you entertained the whole way through. The chemistry and the banter between these 2 characters was so hot and so cute. Fake dating and family drama are 2 of my most favorite tropes, and they were done really well in this book. I just think it's going to be the perfect summer read this year, so I did give it a 4 stars, and I highly recommend.
I finally finished the Hades series by Tate James. I ended off this series with Timber. This was book 4. It was a dark reverse harem spin-off series. After this book, I was actually able to also read the Vault novella. This is technically part of the Madison Kate series, but it's recommended to read after you finish the Hades series. Do I agree with that? I don't think so, because I hadn't read this series in such a long time that going back and reading just like a little book about these characters, it was hard for me to like remember everything that had happened. I can see why it's recommended to read after because there were some spoilers, but overall I liked it, didn't love it. For the Hades series though, I loved all of the characters and the relationships. It was action-packed and intense at times, but it was also really sweet, and I loved seeing all of these characters develop throughout the series. I'm sad that this series is done, but I know there are 3 series in this universe, so I'm going to read the last one. I gave this book on its own a 3.75, but I would give the entire series a 4 star.
Up next, I have my blind book of the month, which was The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. I was a little bit worried about this one, honestly. I kind of felt like I wasn't going to like it, but I ended up really loving it. It was kind of like Desperate Housewives, but you add like mystery and murder and guns and drama into it. It was a fast-paced and highly entertaining read, and it had me guessing until the very end. I know that an adaptation is in the works, and the girlies that they got to play these characters match these people so well, so I'm so ready to watch this play out on film. I ended up giving it a 4 star. Lots of 4 stars for me!
That's what I'm saying! We've read good books this month. Okay, my last one I'm actually still in the middle of, but it is my blind book for the month, and it is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Ossiman. Why didn't you guys warn me? Why did no one tell me what this book entailed? In this book, we have a 17-year-old boy, and he essentially meets this guy that is interning for his father and just becomes absolutely entranced by him. I thought this was gonna be a queer coming-of-age love story, perfect for the summer, just like a really lighthearted, wholesome read. And this is devastating so far. I was not expecting the writing to be so poetic and deep and raw and heartbreaking. The way that they're able to write about love and desire and lust and longing is just absolutely insane. I want to highlight this entire book. I have no idea how this is gonna end. Part of me does not want to read it, but also like I need to know what's gonna happen. I can't wait to see the movie adaptation. I can't believe Timothée Chalamet is playing Elio. I can imagine it perfectly. I was not emotionally prepared for this. I think this has the potential to be like a perfect book in my opinion. We're gonna have to wait and see though how it's gonna end.
Well, now I want to read that one.
You have to.
The last book I'm in the middle of is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I have like 50 pages left, so I'm hoping I can finish it tonight. Honestly, I don't really know. I kind of feel feel like it's my least favorite Tessa Bailey book so far, just because it has insta-lust in it, and that is never my favorite trope to read about, just because I feel like there's no growth, you know? We're just right away like, oh, you're so hot, I want you. And it's like, okay, let's calm down and like get to know each other first. But I mean, the story itself is still solid. It's just the romance that I'm not completely there with. But yeah, hopefully I can finish this tonight.
That was all of the books we read in May. An insane reading month for us.
I think the quality of our books were pretty good this month.
I can't believe I spent the amount of money I did on Amazon last minute ordering the rest of this series. The TBR jar we are loving. We're definitely going to use it again for next month because there were some prompts that we didn't get to.
But that is pretty much it for today's video. So let us know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on them. And let us know what your favorite read of this month was.
Make sure to join our Literal Besties book club if you haven't yet. That link will be in the description, and we are currently voting for what we're going to be reading in June. That's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys next time.